I think I just watched the craziest movie that I've ever seen. Director Panos Cosmatos' first semi-studio produced film, Mandy, is an absolute trip. It's unsettling, it's bizarre, it's gory, it's action-packed, it's sad, it's extremely terrifying, but it is awesome. Premiering at the Sundance Film Festival in 2018, Mandy was met with pretty great critical reception and even won some awards at some smaller festivals for Best Score, Best Director, and even Best Actor for the lead man, the one and only Nicolas Cage. But the number of critics and audience members who reviewed, even though positively, are pretty small for what you would imagine, and the theatrical release did pretty bad. It lost about $5 million. Which is shocking, but also understandable due to the nature of the kind of movie it is. The film has now gained its own cult following, but it has nowhere near the reception and viewership that it deserves. Especially with such a powerhouse actor like Nicolas Cage starring in it and completely stealing the show. To be honest, I had never really heard of or seen anything about this movie until last weekend when I got a very strong recommendation from a very trusted friend that described it as Nick Cage's version of John Wick, but on acid. And I honestly couldn't have been more excited, and it was co-produced by Elijah Wood. You know what? Let's just get into it. The movie starts with one of the cooler opening messages that I've seen in film, and one I'm surprised I haven't seen tattooed or turned into t-shirts more. When I die, bury me deep, lay two speakers at my feet, wrap some headphones around my head, and rock and roll me when I'm dead, with a very clean and smooth intro track. And even though this film isn't centered around music, the soundtrack and score is one of the driving forces of the overall feel of this movie, and is one of its best qualities. The music is fantastic, having a mix of rock, psychedelic, techno, and ethereal, but the movie at its core is very metal. Also, from the second the movie opens, we see its other main highlight, and the absolute best quality that made me make this video in the first place, the visuals. More specifically, the color, but we will get into that later. And it's not just the Western American deep forest aesthetic that I'm obsessed with, I swear. But anyway, the story. Set in 1983, Red, played by Nick Cage, is a lumberjack living out in the woods with his girlfriend Mandy, an artist who by day works at a nearby gas station. Their relationship seems great, their cabin is one of the sickest and coziest ones that I've ever seen, and the view and access of the lake is enough to make anyone jealous. A picture-perfect, off-the-grid, woodsy hippie couple. The first chunk of the movie is a pretty slow burn, which I understand could be the cause for some of the critiques in the audience to check out. I mean, Red and Mandy are a pretty cheesy, stereotypical couple, but once we meet the villains of the story, the children of a new dawn cult, the movie, along with the psychedelic visuals, starts to pick up very fast. One day, while on her walk to work, Mandy crosses paths with a religious cult, and their leader, failed musician and acid addict Jeremiah, is infatuated by her after their quick exchange of glances, so much so that he instantly becomes obsessed with her. After ordering his members to find her, and with the help of a nearby demonic biker gang called the Black Skulls, they capture them both and take them back to their headquarters, if that's what you want to call it. After forcing Mandy to take part in their very potent product, she finally meets Jeremiah as he shows her his corny music and professes his desire to be with her. The drugs, plus this guy's pathetic and hilarious attempt at trying to make her fall for him, make her laugh right back in his face. And with an ego of a cult leader, he very obviously goes ballistic, going as far as burning her alive right in front of Red. And now that we have the setup, it's time for Nick Cage Rampage, and man, it is incredible. I don't want to spoil too much, even though it wouldn't necessarily ruin the movie for you. The experience itself is great either way, but my friend was not lying with their description. The fight sequences are choreographed beautifully, there's an insane chainsaw fight, he makes some of the coolest weapons that I've seen in a long time, and his hunt for revenge is filled with an hour of absolute psychedelic madness. When I say this movie deserves more recognition, it is because it is one of the best looking films that I've ever seen. Now, yes, this could be personal bias, and no, it's not like the asymmetrical work of Wes Anderson or the painting style frames of Scorsese, but the use of color and saturation goes beyond just psychedelic visuals. It creates a world that I've only ever seen rivaled in animated work. The intense fiery reds used to show the rage and revenge come off the screen like it's literally bleeding. The blues and greens are so strong and make the sky and scenery look like we're in a different planet. All the different beautiful color palettes using purple, red, and orange. I know I don't have the technical understanding to fully describe these amazing visuals, but they come together to make a beautiful film that almost makes you forget the insanity that you're watching. The director pulled out every single trick that he had to make this movie what it was. The A24 style film grain and lighting, the use of title cards, the random cuts to animated dream sequences, and again, the color, never feel over the top and only further pull you into this world. Even though the story itself is pretty messed up to say the least and isn't the strongest, it is all made up for with the amazing visual experience. We've seen better revenge stories, of course, but not many go as far to give you the satisfaction of the darkest sides of it like Mandy does. Nick Cage gets his. And this isn't even the only time we've seen him in a role like this, where he has very little dialogue and goes on a gory, violent adventure. But with the emotional and expression-filled acting we get from him, it's one of his most convincing roles. Yes, the aesthetic and visual experience is what drives this movie, but no one else could play this role like Cage does. It is honestly the perfect film for him. So, would I recommend this movie? Well, yes, but it's not for the lighthearted viewer. It's not only violent and gory, but it's so disturbing that it makes it a semi-horror film, especially the scenes with the Black Skull biker gang. But this is simply a really fun experience, matched with, again, I know I'm a broken record, but absolutely stunning visuals. I personally don't take psychedelics, at least not anymore, and I think because of the content it wouldn't be necessarily good to take them while watching, but it's so powerful and visually intense that it almost feels like you're on them while you're watching it. Mostly in a good way. This is one you just smoke a little something for, maybe have a few drinks, and get completely lost into this world that Panos created. And it's even more fun to watch with friends, as I'm sure you'll find yourself cheering for Nick Cage every step of the way, and watching each other react to the absolute awesome revenge. And for any artist or creatives of any kind, this has a pile of inspiration for you to pull from. It's a movie like none other. I'm honestly so excited to see what Panos creates next. I saw he directed and wrote an episode of Cabinet of Curiosities on Netflix, which was also a pretty dark and twisted but visually impressive show, so it makes a lot of sense why they brought him on. And just imagine what he can make with these level of visuals matched with an even better story and more of a budget. After watching Mandy, I'm gonna definitely be on the lookout for his future work, and you should too.